Greetings, fellow birders. I am in my very favorite part of Iowa, the northeastern corner of the state. This area of the state was spared from any glaciers that flattened the remainder of the state, leading to some fantastic views. Not only are the views fantastic up here, but the birds are incredible. Hundreds of thousands of waterfowl use the Mississippi River behind me as a migratory corridor up here this time of year, and they are a sight to behold. Let's see what birds we can find. The first place I traveled to on this northeast Iowa birding adventure was Bloody Run County Park, a location where the namesake Bloody Run Creek is flanked by breathtaking bluffs. I traversed through the picturesque valley and soon came upon numerous birds that were foraging in the morning sun. First was this handsome dark-eyed junco who was finding a few morsels to eat along a gravel road. As I filmed the junco, I heard a pileated woodpecker calling in the background. I soon located the massive woodpecker and was happy to get some footage of this bashful bird. I love visiting Iowa's driftless region for so many reasons, but one of the many perks of coming here is I get to see several birds that are common here but largely absent from my home county, despite only being an hour away. The tufted titmouse is one of the species that is a treat for me to see on my journeys here. These crested relatives of chickadees are adorable, and I envy those who routinely get to see them at their bird feeders. Carolina wrens are another species I rarely encounter around home. This cheeky bird was investigating a pile of railroad ties, no doubt hoping to discover some snacks that another creature had cached there. After teleporting into a magical portal, it emerged from the leaves on a bluff before disappearing. Nearby, a female northern flicker shuffled along an exposed patch of dirt. Despite being mid-November, temperatures were unseasonably warm, so this woodpecker may have been searching for ants that had not yet gone into dormancy in anticipation of winter. This lady was soon joined by a male flicker who seemed just as interested in finding breakfast. Bloody Run County Park was a wonderful warm-up to northeast Iowa birding, but the main attraction this time of year is no doubt the Mississippi River, so I soon made my way to Red Oak Road, where some of the best concentrations of waterfowl in the state of Iowa can be viewed. Hey there, birders. I am currently birding along Red Oak Road. Red Oak Road is in Iowa's very northeast county. It is a fantastic waterfowl refuge along the Mississippi River, and it is a fantastic spot to see migrating tundra swans as they stage for several weeks in November along the Mississippi River on their way from their Arctic breeding grounds to their East Coast wintering grounds. Of course, seeing these tundra swans is a real treat, and I look forward to it anytime I get the chance to come up here during the fall. But there's also hundreds of thousands of other waterfowl that are present along here as they stage and get ready to prepare for the final stretch to their wintering grounds. There's plenty of dabbling ducks, including green-winged teals, northern pintail, northern shoveler, gadwall, and so many more ducks. And as you get further out into the Mississippi River, there are tons and tons of diving ducks, tens of thousands of canvasbacks, ring-necked ducks, and scaup. Always so much fun to pick through them. I can't wait to see what we've got here today. Let's see what we can find. Never a disappointment, I soon keyed in on the guests of honor that rested no more than a few hundred feet from the road. Tundra swans. The upper Mississippi River is a vital stopover point for these incredible waterfowl on their journeys to their East Coast wintering grounds. Tens of thousands congregate along the river from Minneapolis down to northeast Iowa. Pool 9 is one of the southernmost locations to see sizable concentrations of tundra swans, and hearing the soft calls of these gentle giants is one of my favorite sounds of fall. Of course, the tundra swans weren't the only waterfowl present at the refuge along Red Oak Road. Indeed, Pool 9 of the Mississippi River provides refuge to more than 25 waterfowl species during fall migration. The most common duck in the shallow, quiet waters along the north end of Red Oak Road was the mallard. In fact, I estimated that more than 1,500 were present here on my first visit of the weekend. The incessant, harsh, and abrupt quacking of mallards was a stark contrast to the sweet coos of the tundra swans, but the cacophony of mallards is unavoidable this time of year when they're so numerous here. As I watched the mallards, the birds began to bunch together and rearrange themselves, with the ducks in the rear of the group flying to the middle. Anyone who has encountered mallards knows that they're very bashful outside of urban areas. It doesn't take much for them to get nervous, and these birds clearly perceived the middle of the pack to be safer than the outskirts. But I wondered what it was that had gotten the mallards so worked up. I looked to the skies and soon located the cause of the concern: a mature bald eagle circling overhead. This part of Iowa has some of the best concentrations of bald eagles in the state, and these raptors would happily enjoy a mallard meal if only they could catch one of these large ducks. Plenty of other ducks could be found among the mallards. I picked out 12 American black ducks, which can be difficult to distinguish from mallards. I also found several dozen northern pintails. While I certainly overlooked some songbirds as I focused in on the abundant waterfowl, it was impossible to ignore this charming robin that rubbed its bill on a branch and scanned its surroundings for danger. As the sun disappeared over the immense bluffs, I hustled over to nearby Lock and Dam number 9 with the hopes of finding some gulls coming in to roost for the night. Well, the sun is about to set, but I'm still at it birding. There's about 20,000 ringneck ducks behind me, just an immense concentration of this species. They love staging at this wildlife refuge. It provides them safety and shelter, allows them to refuel as they continue on their migratory journeys. Also down here is the end of the Lock and Dam. It's a good place for gulls to roost in the evening. Last time I was here about 2 years ago, I found 2 Bonaparte's gulls and with the ring-billed gulls. So let's see what fun gulls we can find today. I was excited to see a large group of gulls twisting through the skies over the water. Alas, I quickly determined that they intended to roost on the water tonight, as they made no effort to land on the spillway. Immense groups of diving ducks could be seen in the distance in the fading light, but with time running out for the evening, I decided my best move would be to return first thing in the morning to see what I missed. With darkness setting in, groups of Canada geese took to the skies and started their nocturnal migration south to beat the imminent cold that would soon overtake the Midwest. I ended the day longing to find even more waterfowl the next morning. I got an early start this morning, and I sure am happy that I did, because it's a dazzling morning here along the Mississippi River. Absolutely gorgeous, no wind, nice November temperatures, and I'm hoping that the cool temperatures last night prompted a lot of waterfowl to migrate here to this waterfowl refuge. I'm hoping for better looks than what I got last night. It was pretty dark when I got to the Lock and Dam last night, so I should be able to see some nice waterfowl this morning. One of the only ducks that swam near the Lock and Dam was this female or immature bufflehead. A small group of these tiny ducks were making repeated dives underwater to capture their breakfast. Canada geese were picking up where I left them last night, with numerous medium-sized groups heading south. Being mid-November, these birds are keenly aware that daylight is diminishing by the day, triggering them to push ahead on their journeys to their wintering grounds. Although small numbers remain here in open patches of the Mississippi River during winter, most of these birds will continue down the Mississippi River Flyway to spend the winter in the southern United States. I was excited when I spotted a duck flying in from the distant RAF over to me, and I quickly zoomed in to see that not one, but 2 female or immature common goldeneyes had arrived. These waterfowl are a clear indication that winter is imminent. This species overwinters in huge numbers along the river, so they will likely call some part of the Mississippi River home as winter sets in. American tree sparrows were numerous in the vegetation along the dam, as I counted more than 40 of these winter visitors. Meanwhile, a small group of American goldfinches were foraging along the water. These charming finches have been adorning their subtle non-breeding plumage for a couple of months now. This is the time of year when goldfinches stick together in small to medium-sized groups as they roam the landscape in search of food. This nomadic lifestyle will take them anywhere they can find a bite to eat. Another winter visitor to the area is this lovely dark-eyed junco. This sparrow was hanging out on the periphery of the goldfinch flock. As winter starts to set in, songbirds may form unlikely alliances and gather into feeding flocks comprised of multiple species. With such few birds around during this harsh season, seeking out the company of other songbirds is one of the best ways to prevent becoming a meal for a hungry Cooper's hawk or marlin. I was delighted when I picked out 2 trumpeter swans flying high overhead. Although I've had great success finding tundra swans in Alameda County, this species had eluded me in the county to this point. I soon encountered a much bigger group of trumpeter swans flying overhead. Like the Canada geese, they are making a beeline for their wintering grounds. I soon spotted my first lesser scaup of the day as a single male paddled nearby. Focusing on birds further out showed me the sheer scale of waterfowl present, with massive rafts full of diving ducks like ringneck ducks, scaup, canvasbacks, and buffleheads. The bufflehead I had observed earlier had joined up with some friends, and together these adorable little ducks chugged through the water not far from shore. I soon pushed forward to the spillway and was disappointed that there weren't any roosting gulls, though I did find this ring-billed gull sleeping on a buoy nearby. I again observed mind-blowingly large rafts of ducks, with this raft dominated by canvasbacks. I estimated that this diving duck was the most numerous species present, guessing there were at least 37,000 from what I could observe. An excellent group of sparrows waited for me once I arrived at the spillway. American tree sparrows and dark-eyed juncos were numerous, but it was this adult white-crowned sparrow who stole the show. This handsome bird gently cocked its tail before ruffling its feathers and settling in to perch low in a tree not far from me. I was all the more thrilled when a second white-crowned sparrow appeared and perched right by the first. You'll notice that the crown of this bird is brown rather than white. That's because this bird is an immature. This species does not attain its namesake white crown until getting their adult plumage. As I walked back along the dam, I spotted a shy, red-breasted merganser trying to distance itself from me before diving out of sight. Scout and I have been out on the dam for about an hour and a half, and I scanned through the ducks to the best of my abilities, but there's probably 75,000 ducks out there at least, and when I only have my camera and binoculars, I can only do so much, especially when they're not particularly close to shore. I did find both common and red-breasted merganser, which are new Alameda County birds for me. So those are very exciting. There's some Bonaparte's gulls out there flying around, so that was exciting to see. Purple finch flew overhead, and white-crowned sparrows among many American tree sparrows off the dam. But I'm going to go to the other end of Red Oak Road now and go to the Tundra Swan spot and see what birds await me there. Right before I left the dam, I got some terrific looks at a single male canvasback. I had seen tens of thousands in the distance all morning, so to finally get some close views of this stunning diving duck was very satisfying. Canvasbacks stage on the Mississippi River and winter here in the tens of thousands thanks to the abundant aquatic tubers that sustain these waterfowl during these trying times of year. This male had separated from the main raft to rest near shore. My final sighting along the dam was a sizable group of buffleheads with a single female lesser scaup. Female and immature buffleheads dominated this group, but there were 2 males with their bright white feathers present. I returned to the north end of Red Oak Road to again view the Tundra Swans and see what other waterfowl may be present. Thanks to favorable lighting, I enjoyed much better looks at the Tundra Swans compared to yesterday. The Tundra Swans had likely spent the first few hours of the day eating breakfast, and they were now interested in preening their feathers and taking mid-morning naps. I took the time to carefully count the Tundra Swans present today. While there were 63 during my visit yesterday, numbers had ballooned today as I counted 217 of these wonderful waterfowl. Most of the birds present were white adults, but there were also some immature birds sporting their gray plumage. Like trumpeter swans, Tundra Swans migrate in family groups. After a pair raises a family on the Arctic tundra, they stick with their offspring and show them the best migratory route to their wintering grounds. On the way, they stop at places like this waterfowl refuge along the Mississippi River for several days of rest before continuing to the East Coast. Parents will remain with their offspring for the entire winter. It's only when they begin making their journeys north the following spring that parents split from their young. However, it's suspected that young from previous years continue to associate with their parents when they encounter them at migratory staging sites or their wintering grounds. Once again, immense numbers of mallards could be found here. The north end of Red Oak Road is a stark contrast to the area around the lock and dam. Whereas the waterfowl around the lock and dam were almost entirely diving ducks, these waterfowl were primarily dabbling ducks. Among the mallards were northern shovelers, northern pintails, and green-winged teals. As I prepared to depart Red Oak Road, I encountered an interesting mixed-species feeding flock that had clearly found some tasty fish beneath the water surface. Species that showed up to partake in the feeding frenzy included Bonaparte gulls, ring-billed gulls, hooded mergansers, and buffleheads. The Bonaparte gulls are much smaller than the ring-billed gulls, and they have black spots on their heads in their non-breeding plumage. Seeing a feeding frenzy like this is rare in Iowa, so I was very pleased to end my time at Red Oak Road with this encounter. I'm at my last birding spot of the weekend, Mississippi Lock and Dam number 10. I made a few stops at Mississippi Lock and Dam number 9 earlier this weekend. That had a lot more activity. That's where hundreds of thousands of waterfowl stage. Here, there are maybe a few thousand waterfowl. There's a big sandbar out in the middle of this lock and dam, and there were a bunch of whitebirds on it. I expected them to be swans, but I was surprised to find out that they were actually American white pelicans, which does make sense because below the lock and dam is really good fishing for the pelicans. They can easily catch fish as they get disoriented and displaced going down the lock and dam. The only ducks I observed at Lock and Dam 10 were distant looks at 2 mallards, 4 lesser scaup, and 6 hooded mergansers. While ducks were nowhere to be found, Canada geese and American white pelicans were abundant here. They prepared to roost for the night on an island in the middle of the river where they would be safe from predators and human disturbances. Seeing this many pelicans this late in the year was impressive, as I estimated 250 were present. And with that, my Northeast Iowa birding weekend was complete. I can't think of a better way to spend a fall weekend than birding in the most beautiful part of Iowa and getting to see so many exceptional waterfowl. I would love to know what was your favorite bird from this action-packed weekend. Leave a comment below, and I'll catch you on my next Worldwide Birder adventure.